Okay, so for this lecture, we're going to look at writing an essay on literature. So this module, that's exactly what you're going to be doing. You have now a strong base of various works that you have read, and you have also practiced analyzing it to a certain extent. You've done individual questions that were focusing you on analyzing the literature, and then also you did the T analysis, which is kind of outlining um, an analysis. And needless to say, that is the skills that we are working on: reading, comprehending, synthesizing, analyzing. Okay, that's why we're spending all this time looking at literature. That's one lens in the overall skill base. You can analyze a lot of things, right? And literature is just one lens in which we are honing our analytical skill. So, how do we do this? Of course, I have this kind of obvious thing, right? Read the work. That should be obvious. The idea is, though, when you're reading the work, again, as I said in an earlier lecture, you want to spend time, being active in your reading. So you want to actively engage yourself in the work, and then you think about it. You come up with some ideas about the work, which is why a lot of the questions that I give you are designed to have you thinking more about the work. And so for this assignment, you are looking at, what are some of the questions I can ask myself that will help me figure out how I'm analyzing the work. Pre-writing, which is usually a good step to do, right? It's the writing process. Jot down some of your ideas, sketch it out. That's why I gave you the graphic organizer, which is the T analysis. That is one way to help you organize your thoughts. And then, of course, you're actually going to write your piece. So, writing as a process, essay writing as a process. We've gone through this. I'm not going to spend that much time on it. However, here you have on each slide, I have pictures of famous authors and also what they wrote. And play along the game. Do you know who they are? I'm not going to tell you. All right, so if we look at this slide here, don't read passively, read in depth, etc. I gave you that earlier lecture. Again, these are just some questions that you can ask yourself that is more geared specifically towards literature. You've looked at the elements of fiction, you've looked at the literary elements. All of these are lenses in which you can start figuring out how you're going to analyze an essay. Again, here are some more questions you can ask yourself as you're reading the work or at the end of the work. And these also are intended to focus you on your analysis. So at any point during any of these lectures, of course, if you want to look at something closer, just hit pause. Maybe write down some notes, etc. Because I'm not going to read it word for word. Another thing, again, I feel like I'm being repetitive. I've said this before, so I'm just reiterating it for you, okay? While you are reading, keep a dictionary handy because you should know the words of what you are reading. Now, so far, most of these words here that are here are not from a reading we have read yet, but we will. Denunciations, surmounted, imposture, puncheons, noblesse oblige. So all of these, I look at them and I think, well, these aren't words that are, used in casual language at all, and you don't often come across them. So these are words that I would think a lot of people would need to look up, but you would need to look them up in order for you to have a better understanding of a story, of the story, or an understanding of the story, because sometimes these words are absolutely necessary in your understanding, your comprehension. So we have an example of the 5-paragraph essay. You have probably seen this 5 million times, but just a short overview. I certainly encourage you to write more than 5 paragraphs, because the 5-paragraph essay structure is rather artificial structure. However, it is there for those who need help in structuring their essay. So that would be how a 5-paragraph essay goes. Thesis statement, in which you're going to put forth what your argument is, and then each paragraph is going to develop individual ideas, and then you conclude. Very simple, graphic organizer for you to use. But as you are going along in your education, I definitely encourage you to expand your writing and not just fit yourself into this tight mold here. Okay, write clearly. Your reader, in this case, I am your reader, but anybody else could be your reader. And as a writer, your job is to make sure that there is no question what you are writing about. The idea is mostly you're writing to an audience that is not knowledgeable about what you're writing about. That's how you cover your bases. So you will think, oh, well, for this assignment, the professor certainly knows what I'm writing about, so I don't need to include all this information. Yes and no. You need to set up your essay. You need to, for the most part, make an assumption that your reader is somewhat aware of maybe literature, etc., but not specifically aware of what you are writing about, which is the case. I'm not going to be totally aware of what you're writing about because it's your brand new essay. Though do introduce the author, introduce the story that you are writing about, and be very clear with your thesis statement. The idea is for when your reader is looking at your essay, they know exactly what your essay is going to be about. Right there in the beginning, first paragraph, second paragraph, I'm going to know exactly what your argument is going to be. And you be explicit. Even if you think it's somewhat redundant, even if you think you're repeating yourself, make sure that you're very clear. I always say this over and over again. What do you think and why do you think it? That's what you're going to be presenting, okay? This is what I think, and here is why I think it. So both of these two have to be combined together. Is your thesis convincing? Well, here for the first one, we're going to be doing a non-research essay. And good news, we're going to be very soon starting into the research paper. I'm sure you're excited about that. For non-research essays, you're just going to use the evidence is within the text. Always the evidence must go back to the text. That means you will use short, brief quotations within your essay to support what you are saying. Of course, for your research paper, you're going to get more sources, something that we'll go into deeper in the next module when we're looking at research. You need to make sense. This kind of sentence says nothing. The doctor in the use of force is a bad doctor because he works in a poor neighborhood. That doesn't make any sense at all. I have a lifetime now of teaching experience, and I can point out many sentences that have not made sense to me. So make sure that what you're writing follows. The doctor in the use of force may be a bad doctor. He also may be in a poor neighborhood, but the two don't correlate or causate, right? So make sense in your writing. We want to avoid generalizations because that, again, is something that does not say anything. I do not like the doctor in the use of force. He's mean and selfish. Well, good for you. You know, whatever. That doesn't further any kind of argument whatsoever. And it's just a consumerist kind of perspective. I don't like, I like. And that's not what analysis is. The next one here is absolutely something that I see a lot of is more summary plot points and things like that. Students will say this happened and this happened and this happened and this happened, and it's not actually saying anything behind it. You're just re-summarizing what happened in the story. The doctor in the use of force was too forceful. Well, that's awkward. And he forced a tongue depressor down a child's throat. Well, that's bad writing, number one. And number two, it's just what happened. So it doesn't actually have an argument there. Let's take a look at an example, a brief little section of example. This is a thesis that you would be familiar with because we looked at that in the T analysis. So you would start with what your thesis is. The doctor in William Carlos Williams, The Use of Force, performs a psychological rape on the Matilda character, which is couched in the framework that he is performing his professional duties. Thesis statement. That's what the essay is about. And then just to get right to the point, you get a little quote that's going to support this. But a blind fury, a feeling of adult shame, bred of longing for muscular release are the operatives. One goes on until the end. And now, this is what you do. You then come in with your explication, your understanding, your analysis of all of this. The doctor spends a considerable amount of time trying to justify his actions in his mind. However, the physical truth overshadows any pathetic reason that he gives. That is your analysis. Somebody else could read that same sentence and they have a different analysis. So the idea is, again, what do you think? Why do you think it? Explain yourself. Here's just my little happy end note. Remember that writing is both an art and a science. It really is. It's sometimes difficult to be a writing teacher because you know, I can't just say this is the reason why 2 + 2 = 4, right? That's really something that's so concrete. But it's trying to say, well, you want to develop your language, you want to have a little bit more nuance, you want to support what you're saying, you want to extend your reasonings more. All of this is a little bit, you know, of the artistry side. So there's a science. You need to have grammar, you need to have your you know, your sentences correctly and punctuation and mechanics, and that is there. And you know, you could do the 5-paragraph essay. All of that is very functional. But then there's also the art side where you're going to show your creativity. You're going to use language. You're going to play with the language. You're going to express yourself through the language. So, you know, be aware of that and also be comforted in that, because it's not just black and white. It's you know, you're thinking, you know, you're analyzing things, you're presenting it in your own writing. All of this is a way of expressing your mind and your thoughts. And the last one is talking about the questions. I'm going to give you 1 to 2 questions, two questions. You're going to pick one of them and you're going to respond to one of them. So here, you know, just overall, when you're getting down to actually writing your essay, if it's a short story, you should be able to read the work again, think about all the different questions that you can use to analyze. Here, we're not going to be in too much of a time constraint. This is an online class, but you'll get like a choice of questions. So choose the question you want to answer. Identify then what story will apply to that question. Sketch out what points you need to answer the question. Identify parts of the story that will help support your ideas, and then start organizing your essay in total. All right, so that is a quick overview of looking about how to write an essay on a piece of literature. And look closer in the module for more explanation. Thank you.